counseling,
they would rather forget.
Yeah.
This is where psychological, psychosocial
support.
Yes, yeah, psychosocial support comes in, because psychosocial support does not depend on whether there's a conviction or whether there's an acquittal. At all stages of a case, then there should be that kind of guidance and counseling that we are promoting to restore a survivor. So we would rather dwell on that, and that is why we need our non-state actors then mount a fight with the victim throughout.
So there's some emotional intelligence needed here. I think I'd be going crazy every time.
Yes, that's why I said in the beginning that a victim-centered approach is suitable, and we need to work with all the people who can support us to be able to give justice to the victims of crime.
Yeah. So this show can never go, we can never finish this show without talking about bail and bonds, plea bargain.
Yes.
When it comes to, say, like SGBV,
Yes.
do you allow for bail and bond?
Well, bail is considered on an individual basis, case-by-case basis. In what we need, in fact, I should begin by saying that the primary consideration for bail is whether an accused is going to attend trial or not. So the trial we are talking about is a fair trial, and it cannot be a fair trial where witnesses have been interfered.
Yes.
So when we look at a case and see that the witnesses' needs would require for the applicant accused to stay in bail pending maybe hearing, then we fast track the hearing of the case as we oppose bond, and we tell the court, in alternative to granting them bond at this particular time, let 1 or 2, 3 witnesses testify, and then the bond bail application can be renewed, and the court can go on to consider whether one may be admitted to bond or bail. So the circumstances of the case would
really matter.
Yes.
And plea bargain?
Plea bargain for sexual offences is a no-no, because it is statutory bad. Sexual offences, any offence under the Sexual Offences Act, not permissible. We may debate plea bargain for the sexual offences that have been retained in the Penal Code, because there's no the Penal Code. There are codes that provide for these offences under which we charge. So there's the Sexual Offences Act, and then there's a Penal Code, and then for the general GBV, the Penal Code also would provide for offences against injury to property, offences against a person, assault. Yes, those we can enter plea bargains into. But those that are chargeable under the Sexual Offences Act, there's no room for plea bargain for those particular
Diversion?
ones. Diversion in all cases that touch on children.
No diversion?
It's automatic.
Oh, for children?
Child to child.
Yeah.
We must consider diversion as the first. Do
you get such cases?
Yes, we do.
Children involved in SGBV?
Yes, 15, 16-year-old consensual. That happens a lot.
The Romeo and Juliet cases.
They are very prevalent within Kilifi County. So those ones we automatically consider diversion, and we have that bigger discussion with their parents and caregivers, and the children's service, and guidance and counseling people.
How do you deal with these cases, the Romeo and Juliet cases, when someone says the boy child is always sort of given a free out of jail card, so the girl remains with the burden of the act and the boy goes free? How do you ensure the boy doesn't go free? Well,
you see, the boy sometimes is guilty for penetrating. But sometimes it is the girl who causes for the penetration.
How?
There are those instances where the girl is the one who is actually making moves against the boy. We are talking about children here, and they're experimenting, and their emotions, their hormones are ravaging, and the boy could be as guilty as the girl, and the girl could be as guilty as the boy. What is important is, do they get the sufficient support that can bring them back on the path of the straight and narrow? That is guidance and counseling and advice from parents, and reintegrating them into the proper behavior that is expected of them. So equally as the girl requires some assistance, the boy also requires some assistance in the form of it might be different where the boy or the girl has forcefully, defiled the other, you know. So in quotes, lack of consent, those children cannot give consent, even the boy. But imagine a 16-year-old boy with an 8-year-old girl and there's force used. In those cases, we might proceed to prosecute because that would be the best welfare and interest of both those children.
So this 16-year-old goes through the children's, the whole process. You manage them like you manage a child.
Yes. Yes.
Children
in conflict with the law. There's that discussion about children in conflict with the law in regards to the arson going on in schools, because people are calling for arrest, jail, arrest, charge, and jail.
Yes.
So, and these are children.
Yes.
So what happens? What happens? How do you even answer that?
Anita, you know, the criminal responsibility in our law begins at age 8, but mostly 12, right?
Do you know how grey that sounds?
So the law contemplates children as being offenders.
Yeah.
Only that the law wants for us to put in place first the welfare and interest of that child as being paramount.
Yeah.
So that does not mean that they cannot be held to account for the crimes that they may have committed. But the way you deal with them in the criminal process
is different.
It should be different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I saw some of their photos being published on social.
Yeah. Those are the things that are undesirable.
Yeah.
When it comes to a child.
When it comes to a child. Yeah. So bring it back to commercial sex workers who are children. Do you think, just in your opinion, maybe not based on research, that because there haven't been any foreign travels into the country, that's why the numbers went down?
First, it's a bit beyond just being, we would not call them commercial sex workers. So
teach me.
Yeah. it is commercial sexual exploitation of a child. And this is because of the exploitative nature of it. And it varies. You know, on one hand, it might look like a child on a street solicited. On another hand, it might be a child who's being violated by a sponsor who is purporting to educate them.
You know, our meaning of sponsor is quite different.
Yes, I'm aware of that. So there is a sponsor that is trying to educate.
Yeah.
But also there's a number of some victims that survivors that we've engaged with who allude to the fact that maybe some of them have sponsors.
So this person is paying your school fees and demanding extra?
Yes, some are not even paying school fees. Some are giving 20, 50 shillings to engage in sexual activity with children. There are cases where we have, people, identifying little girls, little boys from poor communities or from poor backgrounds and promising them money and then exposing them to perpetrators. You know, the person who's organizing is a facilitator, that's a perpetrator, and the person who's actually engaging in this sexual activity, sexual abuse, is also a perpetrator. Some of the facilitators, sadly, are parents.
Why?
And they use these children as a source of income. So yeah. And so one of the cases that we have involved a mother who used the daughter to get some money from an individual who was promising bursary. You know, so those kinds of things are some of the dynamics that we see. For some, it is a case in which maybe a border rider provides transportation
You're
for
kidding.
a child to school, and every time they're moving, they branch into a bush. You know, because this child lives far from school. You know, in some cases, it is just the prestige of being associated with someone with money, having a phone. You know, so someone bought you a phone, and so they are your sponsor. And the dynamics are wide. It is beyond just the few of the many who were showing up in streets. You know, so for us, what we have narrowed it down to is defilement or a level of sexual abuse. Some of them are shows where girls are being used to strip, and then there's pictures being taken of them and all that. Some form of sexual abuse, whether it's paid for or not. So for us, when there's that commercial element, be it monetary or anything of value, that is something of interest, because we cannot commercialize the abuse of children sexually. If someone is benefiting from it financially, that is next level. And there's need for us to respond. It is for this reason that we are out in the coast.
Do you support the introduction of a sex registry? Would it work? Would it be a deterrent?
Well, I think it is already introduced in our laws, regulations.
Really?
Yes, the registrar of the High Court has that statutory duty to keep a register of.
But then how do
the offenders.
how do the Mwananchi know it exists? Where do I see it?
It begins with us, you know, the players.
Yeah.
Yes, at the local level in Kilifi County, I would happily want to approach, and I'm planning to do so, my deputy registrar, and you know, put that question to them and see whether we can keep a register of offenders within Kilifi County.
How would it really help you that you know XX is on the list?
Well, there are many things that attach being on the register. Your movement, you know, before you travel, you need to.
Oh, you need come reports.
Yes, of course, that would help us. See, if you are out on bail and you want to travel, and go to Canada, you'd have to first come and seek, you know, some.
So then, do you tell the Canadian authorities that?
No, you'd have to come to the local deputy registrar and notify the parties there, including us, that you intend to travel, for example, and then we will be able to know where you want to go. Yeah. Yes. And should you, you know, fall into situations where you're committing offenses, again, then it is easy to be able to monitor your movements and you know, curtail and prevent.
Yeah, I'm wondering, do you like inform the other jurisdiction that somebody of this nature is coming to your jurisdiction? Be aware.
We have not come to that,
to that
point
level
yet
yet
to know how best we can use this.
Yeah.
But the purpose of the register would actually to be to bring about situations where it is better to prevent these situations from arising.
Yeah.
From being, you know, the offenses from being committed. If you are an offender on the register and you're moving and you're doing things, you're likely to be self-aware that you're not going to behave in this kind of manner.
Yeah.
Right? Because you know,
Yeah, is the sex registry though quite retributive? Is it not? Because the criminal justice is now working towards restoration, right?
Yes.
But then when you have a registry, is it like a punishment? You're putting this thing on my head for the rest of my life. I mean, can't I just move on?
Well, let's think of it from the victim point of view. How long do they have to stay?
We are going to call you the victim supporter.
Yes. Yeah.
And it's an open discussion.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think in this country you can walk out of prison as a sex offender
Yeah.
and become an untrained teacher the following day.
Yes.
Exposed fully to children, or become
Yeah.
a Sunday school teacher.
Yes.
You know, and so for us to stop that, we need to have a database, a central public access database
Yes.
that can tell you that this person who's trying to be a shamba boy
Yeah.
in your home is somebody who's a threat to your children. You know, and then that will inform the preventative steps that we would take to limit this kind of violation. And by that registry, that's just being public.
Yeah.
One of the things that it would do is to deter potential, you know, perpetrators.
Yeah.
I mean, if you are an employer, for example, and this is not to like victimize, but you want to consider where you want to expose, what you want to expose to a sex offender, for example. And so, for me, it's a discussion, and I think for us as an organization, it's a discussion that is long overdue.
Yeah.
That we need to bring to the table and address why we've not, you know, addressed some of the parameters of sharing this knowledge with the public, you know, in a way that will protect other children and deter other perpetrators.
Interesting. So, like we were discussing earlier,
Yes.
before the show started, what is the economic impact of SGBV on a victim? What are the implications, monetary wise, for me
Alright.
to get my case to be heard?
All right.
And why is there even a cost to it?
All right.
Yeah.
So let me analogize with a victim in
Yeah.
Bamba,
Yeah.
who might be probably 3 kilometers or 4 kilometers or 5 kilometers away from the nearest medical facility, and probably 3 kilometers away from the nearest police station. So they need to seek medical attention, and they also need to report the case.
Yeah.
To get to the nearest place is either you're going to walk or take a boda,
Who may also
which
be
are
a
the
threat.
modes. Yeah, who may also be a threat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that is already complicates your path to justice. Now you have reported and you've sought medical attention. You are required to have a P3. The P3, you go to the hospital and you're told you are supposed to pay 1,000 shillings. Where do they get these people in Bamba 1,000 shillings from?
Do government hospitals offer it for free though? Is
They
it supposed to be?
They should. There's a decision that has been rendered by the High Court, which actually says that it's unconstitutional for it to be chargeable to get a P3.
It's wrong.
It's wrong.
Yeah.
But this is exactly why we are getting together as stakeholders in the CUC platform, where we are supposed to discuss these things. We are supposed to, and we are doing so. We are engaging with the medical superintendent of the MOH.
Oh, good.
To see what the problem is. What is it that makes them want to charge 1,000 shillings? Is it a funding issue? If it's a funding issue, is it something that that the ministry or the county government can take care of?
Yeah.
And I think on that, we participated in that petition on the P3, and I think for us, when we came to this region and we realized that one of the things that is happening is that survivors are being charged to access formality. You know, it was very unfortunate. And I think one of the things we are trying to follow up under the auspices of the CUC is to see how these charges would be done away with. You know, because generally these survivors are people who are living in poverty.
Yeah.
Accessing $2, 200 shillings in a day approximately, is not a possibility. And so when you ask them to pay 1,000 to get a P3, it means they'll never pursue that. It's not financially viable for them.
Yeah, true. And let's also let me talk about the other cost.
Yeah.
The other cost is probably if they are minors, and even if they are adults, business for that day are stopped. So if you sell tomatoes by the roadside, or you go to the farm, that has stopped. If you have to travel to court several times, maybe the case is being adjourned for this or that reason. If you are engaging in an economic activity, that is gone.
It's gone.
Right? Now the costs of traveling from your home to the court, those several days that you have to do so, that is also another cost. But that's why I'm very happy with my counterpart here, together with the CUC, what we have been trying to do in Kilifi. I remember earlier on you asked me a question what we are doing. Access to justice has become something that we are trying to address. We are trying to take the court nearer to the people. That's why we are working on a mobile court in Bamba. That's a far-flung area. We are also working on a court in Mtwapa, small claims court. Well, it might not be SGBV, but think of what a small claims court can do for victims of SGBV. Someone has slashed your donkey, because that is what you use as a lady to carry your wares from the house to the market. You can go to that court and get justice in that court at almost zero cost. When you have a small claims court there, you'd want to have an RM there to handle sexual offences cases and GBV cases. So that court also becomes one in all. You can cater for so many other things. So
also it removes all these small claims before other magistrates who are dealing with more serious offences. And so what that does is that it reduces the
time,
and increases reduces the time within which a matter is dispensed with. And that is critical, because a lot of the survivors have a problem with the length of time it takes to conclude a matter. And so if a case can end in 3 months, 2 months, the better.
Interesting. So those are victims. That is the impact that this thing has on them. But then even the perpetrators, there's an impact on them and their family, right?
Yes, it is.
Do you offer them any psychosocial support, or you tell them deal with your issues?
When we started, I think one of the things that you had mentioned is that our system, the constitutional dispensation and the laws that have come pursuant to it, have really done justice to the accused person. And when you read Article 49, Article 50, 50, it's all accused this, accused that, and the right to fair hearing for the accused person under Article 50 is even codified again under Article 25 as one of the rights that you cannot even limit. So the accused person is largely sorted when it comes to the laws. And I think all criminal justice actors are well sensitized on the rights of the accused. The superior courts have given precedent on what it entails to promote the rights of the accused. And so when it comes to that setting, the rights of the accused are really enhanced.
Yeah.
Okay? And so for us, I think at some point we had an awakening that maybe we need to consider this victim, the person whose violation has informed all these other things.
Yeah.
And so it's important that we also look at them in terms of seeing how the system supports them to get to restoration. And so we are not ignoring the rights of the accused, we're just appreciating the fact that they're quite well enhanced.
I am so glad somebody agrees with me. I am not a lawyer, but the little I know is that the accused is well taken care of in the Constitution.
There is a lot, and I think it's informed by our history.
Yeah.
Past of accused persons' rights being violated previously.
Is there like an obvious impact to the society at large, economically, SGBV? Because it means that there's a lot of money being spent towards telling people to stop this vice.
The issues of SDPP, they fall in a category of violations that we at IJM call everyday violence. And everyday violence, according to Gary Hogan, who is our founder and CEO, is the single most largest contributor to poverty.
Everyday violence.
Everyday violence. So you find that a child who's been exposed to trauma, informed by sexual offenses, is a child who will probably not do well in school. And if that trauma remains unaddressed, it will be an issue that stays with them long term.
Yeah.
And so this child, and in this country, if you don't do well in school, there are challenges.
It's an academic society.
It's doing well on other aspects, and I thank God for that, and I think it's a good thing that it's happening that way. But for a long time, you could not make it so well if you did not do well in school, and so that becomes an issue. And even in these other sectors, it's important for you to address your trauma, for you to thrive in a lot of these other areas, be it the arts, be it sports, and all that. And so that being the case, and I think Brother Tami has really elaborated how violence, the issue of sexual and gender-based violence can limit growth and can limit livelihood.
Yeah.
But now when it is happening consistently in a community, it limits the individual capabilities that allow you to thrive. And so it limits your output every other day, and it limits your net long-term output as an individual in terms of livelihood. And so if you can calculate that, you can calculate every day lost by gender-based violence survivors, it would be in the millions.
Yeah.
It would be in the millions.
Yeah.
If you could calculate the potential of children whose trauma has impeded their growth and their capacity, it would be in the millions.
Yeah.
And we say the children are the leaders of the future.
The future. Yeah.
But if our children are traumatized, how are they going to lead the future? So the cost is high. It's higher than the monetary premium that we can put to it. And it's important for us to appreciate that in an early stage and address it.
Are we appreciating that?
We're just starting to appreciate it. I'd say that. We're just starting to appreciate it. From what I'm seeing with the criminal justice actors in Kilifi, Mombasa, and Kwale, I think there is an appreciation. And for the central government, we in civil society can comfortably request that additional support be given to these actors out here. It's not about just counting the number of people and all these things, but we need to have more focus, financially, capacity-wise, on the criminal justice actors in the coastal region to address these issues.
SGPP. Does religion play a role in all this sensitization of people? Do you even deal with the religious society? They're called faith-based organizations.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, they are
Lawyer
very,
speak.
yes, they are, yeah, they are very supportive at the CUC level. In fact, 2 or 3 of the shelters within Kilifi County
Yes.
are sponsored by religious groups.
Ah, okay.
They are faith-based
Yeah.
groups, and that is a very welcoming aspect. Even at the church level, they have those guidance and counseling programs,
Yeah.
which
But
we
those
can
ones
always
just
refer.
tell you to go back and deal. Go and pray about it and go back. They don't take
No,
you.
they have very structured
Yeah.
programs within churches, most
Yeah.
of these churches,
Yeah.
and I believe also
Yes.
other faiths,
They have
where they
that.
try to deal with the emotional and spiritual needs of an individual. Even dealing with it from a spiritual aspect really helps someone.
We can talk about that for 1 hour and not agree.
Yes.
And I think for some of them, they provide
Yes.
provide the forum,
Yeah.
and they allow for institutions that are willing to bring in the experts. So they provide the venue for restoration to begin.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so that too is a critical contribution.
It is.
Just the goodwill that comes with saying, get us some counselors, we have some survivors,
Yeah.
and we welcome anybody from any faith to come into our premises. We will bring these people to engage with you. That really helps.
Has this thing become so prevalent because we have access to information, or has it always been like this? Because it feels like it's the discussion over and over again. When you switch on your TV, when you read your papers, it's SDBV here, SDBV there. Is it because you have more access to information, or life has just become stressful, poverty has gone up, and people just want to fight?
The truth is, we never considered SGBV to be an issue as a country until very recently. I think if you look back into history, when cases of rape started, attracting limelight, we used to ask alikuwa amevaa nini, alikuwa anafanya nini nje usiku.
Yeah, alikuwa na
those discussions.
They're still there though.
Alikuwa
Yeah.
anataka nini,
Yeah.
akienda huko.
Yeah.
And so
Yenda alimprovoke.
yes, and so it means these things used to happen, but as a community, as a nation, we have normalized it.
Yeah.
Then it got to a point we said, no, this is not right, and the conversation started changing. Today, when there is a sexual violation, nobody asks what the lady was
Wearing. Yeah.
Nobody asks what she was doing at night, walking I don't know where. Nobody says she was asking for it.
Yeah.
Like it used to be.
Yeah.
It means we've come to a point of a certain amount of realization, which then informs a lot of the responses that we now need to put in place. We are not in that place where we used to be. Does not mean the numbers are reduced or increased. It just means our awareness of it has become something else. We need to seize the moment and address it comprehensively. Yeah.
So do you do sensitization with the community?
We do sensitization.
Yeah, we do.
You go out and talk to people, barazas.
That's one of the things we do. My prosecutors, together with other non-state actors, will always engage in town halls,
Oh yeah.
in churches, in other social forums with the community, and sensitize them. For us, we need to remind them that we have this office. If you are a victim, we have an open door policy. Bring your issues. If you are an accused, expect this and that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and justice
So
will be served.
a victim can come to ODPP
Yes.
and just report.
In
Yeah.
fact, it's just last Friday that I met with the senior programs manager for GEC, that is Gender and Equality Commission for the region in Malindi, and we are working together on a referral so that people who come to that office can also be referred to our office in a certain manner that enables us to be able to interact with them properly. Thanks to IJM, they have agreed. I'm proceeding with my prosecutors on a brainstorming session. It is for me to choose the date.
Yes.
So I want to engage again with my prosecutors, and we see what mechanisms, what plans, concrete plans we can come up with to try and address this problem.
Okay, all right.
And on sensitization, I'd just like to, on behalf of IJM, thank ODPP. I think we have a long history of community sensitization from the days in Kayole, I think, when we did the community dialogue there. We've visited, Lamu, almost all the 6-7 islands, Peketoni, Nguni, all those places. And here in Mombasa, Kilifi, and Kwale, I think COVID has limited a bit the engagements, but we've been able to, in all that circumstance, pull out one.
Yeah.
And it was a very informative one in Bamba. And Bamba is quite interior.
Need to go to Bamba.
You heard that song for Safari ya Bamba?
Yeah, Neo.
It's the Bamba.
Yeah.
It's a bit better because there's road now, but it's interior. People go as far as 120 kilometers to get a P3 form.
120 kilometers.
120, it's about 65
So
kilometers.
when I was talking about 3 kilometers,
Those are the ones in the town.
those are the ones in town.
But the ones in the outskirts, it's quite expansive.
Yeah.
It's quite expansive.
So access to justice is still a journey.
It is. And the initiative by the actors on the mobile court is very welcome.
Yeah.
Apparently it used to happen,
Yes.
then it stopped. But when you do sensitization for the community, you tend to realize the impact it has. Because the knowledge you have, you might think everybody does have it.
Yes.
Until you speak it and you find the community is really odd
Yeah.
at something very simple you said. And for us, one of the things that we've realized from the dialogues we've conducted is that there is need for widespread sensitization. And in partnership with KBC and Pwani FM, we now have a weekly radio talk show.
Oh, nice.
Where we address some of these issues with members of the community and just to share the knowledge so that it can go far and wide. I think with an average listenership of 800,000,
Yeah.
that can be a start to getting somewhere. And in the next few weeks, I'll be dragging the rest of his colleagues to also come and just sensitize the community.
Yeah.
Because it's a critical component of appreciating the problem and some of the solutions to it.
Yeah.
Anita, I think you had earlier on asked about whether these offences used to happen before, or is it an issue?
Is it just an information age that you now get to hear these things?
I like what he has just said, because ICT then, because it is part of our Vision 2030, is supposed to improve our lives.
Yeah.
So where there might have been some gaps in information and exchange of information, now we have ICT that is helping us.
Yeah.
So what ICT has done is to just now tell us this is what has been.
Yes. This is what you didn't know.
This is it. So now let's deal with it from there.
Yeah.
And the fact that he will go to the station every other week to do it, that is very useful. The fact that we can do it from ODPP Café and have it on YouTube.
Yeah.
Beautiful ICT.
It is. As we go into the elections, I'm hoping you're going to have a session with the political class, because female leaders are coming into action, and young ones, and maybe they need to know what is GBV in that space, because they get attacked too many times. And it actually is a determinant for most people who want to seek political office because of the violence you expect. Yeah.
From our office we have the Head Speech and Electoral Justice Department division. I know they must be working on something. We've learned lessons from 2007.
Yes.
There was this petition, I think it's petition number 122 of 2013, where 8 survivors sued the DPP, the AG, the state in general. And what came out is the folly of not planning for SGBV that is related to
elections.
Last week again, I had that discussion with the JEC representative, that is the Gender and Equality Commission representative within my region, and she's having an exercise, a workshop from the 13th to 18th of December. We hope all of us to be able to engage in that function, because we are basically discussing SGBV with a focus on elections.
Good.
Yes.
That is
then
nice.
Secondly, we have a committee, GBV committee at a community level. I don't know how active it is. We need to re-engage again. Then we have a GBV committee at a county level, where we should have the county leadership engaging on matters to do with GBV.
Gender-based violence.
What we can do is we will call each other again to the table. We have a SGBV committee at the CUC level. We engage on that table and be able to see what it is we can do in terms of preparing for the elections and the aftermath of it when it comes to SGBV.
Yeah, I think the bottom line is that it's important to move from the boardrooms and from the workshops to the mwananchi, because vitu kwa ground zinakwanga different kabisa. So I want to come to an end of this discussion, and I want to thank you. It's been quite insightful. I think, like you say, I also learn something every other time I have a discussion, and I'm in awe of some things that I didn't know existed. And for once, I'm glad there's a supporter of victims, mtetezi. So I don't know, any final parting shots?
Let me start with my brother.
Wageni kwanza.
Thank you. Mine first is to thank ODPP for this very great initiative. I think as an organization, this is the second time we're engaging on different topics. And it's always a pleasure for us to be able to find this kind of forum where we can speak for the survivors that we work on behalf of, but also speak to power, being government, in a way that can, empower or enhance their response to people who are vulnerable. Secondly, is on the issues of sexual violence against children in the coast. I think we need to do more in terms of responding to this, and I think it's something that it's a problem that calls upon all stakeholders to come out, be it to speak against it or to take action against it, but it's an urgent issue that needs to be addressed. So on our part, it's to call upon every person of goodwill to reach out to address this problem. My hope is that in the next 10 years, 20 years, we will be speaking about these problems as history, so that there will be no children still being violated after all the work that we will have put in place to address these issues.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. I wish you well, though. It's quite a task.
All right, Anita, you've traveled how many kilometers together with your team?
Oh, do I know? It was a long journey.
500 kilometers to come and have this discussion with us. I think also this is the first ODPP Cafe outside Nairobi. Have you done any outside Nairobi?
Once, but this is now the first of the series.
All right. And it is on SGBV.
Yes.
So the signs are good. The signs of the times are good.
They're good,
So we are happy that we have had this kind of discussion with you. And I echo what my brother has said. ODPP, Kilifi, and ODPP Coast Region in general, we really are putting our heads down together to see how we can address the issue of SGBV. We cannot have a situation where every one out of every 3 cases that we are handling as an office is GBV. It is not only depressive to us, but it is also taking away resources that should otherwise be put into other things, because the poverty levels of the communities here
there are other things to do.
So it is not a very productive way to go about living our lives. Just like my brother said, 10 years this thing should be a thing of the past, but imagine if it entrenches itself, where are we going to be in 10 years?
Crazy.
It is chaos, and it is not the best kind of violence that you can have. Sexual and gender-based violence, it is a blight on humanity, actually.
It is,
So I agree with my brother. Let's put our heads together. Let all stakeholders come together and think about it, and let us fight this fight together. Let us also work towards restoring our survivors and victims. Let us also welcome the perpetrators and reintegrate them also into society, so that they can be the ambassadors to speak about this.
Have you ever had one who's an ambassador? You're still working on that.
But the way society, the way as a society we treat the people who have gone through the criminal justice system and have been convicted also speaks about who we are.
Who we are as a people.
We should not just be vengeful people. We should be people who also want to progress together as a unit.
You're right.
So justice for everyone, justice for the accused and justice for the victim.
Okay, thank you so much. Yes, I hope we'll come back again and discuss more. definitely maybe on other matters, not just SGBV, because there's a lot. Yeah. Asanteni sana.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, gentlemen, for a very insightful discussion. We have definitely learned something from you, and we'll keep learning about SGBV and what it means to our community, and of course how to attain a vision where there's no SGBV in the community. So thank you so much as well for everyone who was tuned into the show. I hope you learned something like I did, and definitely we are available to answer to your questions. We are available if you need help. Definitely there's somebody who's going to respond to you and get to give you the information you need. I want to wish you well as we come to an end of this show. I want to wish you a good Friday. God bless.